Okay, we're back here at On The Cusp, and we're really fortunate today to have with us Sarah Lowder from Lowder Bakery,
Yes.
okay, and my co-host Matt Snyder, who's back with me on this. But this is really special for me to have you here today, because I remember when you and your husband came into EAP, your baking business with King Cakes had taken over the house.
Yes.
And the really unique thing about it was you weren't just launching a business. You had a much bigger goal, and that goal was to give back to the community.
Yes.
And you've done that in a lot of ways.
Well, thank you.
So this is really exciting. So tell us a little about what's driving Lowder Bakery
Well,
right now.
thank you so much for having me here today. And you've seen us from the very beginning into what we are now, and so it's just been a really exciting adventure so far. We started out, opened our storefront in January 2019, but before that we were just baking out of our house, King Cakes during Mardi Gras season, while Preston had another full-time job. We had 3 young kids at home, and it really grew to the point that we had completely outgrown being able to operate from our house. And so we took that big leap of faith, and with EAP's help, planned out our business plan and pitched to investors. And so it has grown so much more quickly than we ever anticipated, and part of that has just been the enormous support from the community. So we've been really, really happy to be plugged in the community and just trying to find ways of how do we grow our business, but also, better Shreveport, better our area.
Yeah.
I love when people like take that leap. I feel like that's every entrepreneur has that part of their story where it maybe didn't make sense, and maybe like there was all these questions, and maybe everybody thought like they were crazy.
Oh, for sure.
And then they
For
just
sure.
jump. And y'all like I remember y'all's story, like, because you were like, we have this killer king cake business, and we're just gonna do bread in between, and it'll work out. And everybody's like, I don't know if this is, and then y'all just jumped, and Preston loved his job. And that to me is what makes a great entrepreneur a great entrepreneur. Because at some point they just put all the questions and all the doubts aside and say, you know what, we're going.
Oh, it was wild. I mean, on paper, looking back, it did not make sense. There was a lot of safer routes to go, but I think that was probably the hardest step into it, is both Preston and I committing of like, okay, we're doing this, we're going all in,
Yeah,
we're
but
going to
y'all
jump.
were very,
Yeah.
I mean, you did a lot of analysis. You
We
were
did.
very methodical about it. I can remember looking at it, and we were getting down to the kilowatt hour per loaf of bread. It turned into a science of the baking business.
The cool thing though is when you jump,
Yes.
then all the even if all those bad things are right, you have to pivot and you have to fix them. So like I walk into your bakery now, or to Doc's, which I love,
Oh, thank you.
and it is a total different thing than what we would talk about, or I would hear about, or even when you
Yes.
were with Dave. And like, I love that part of being an entrepreneur.
Now, you were just telling us before we started, you've grown more than just the bakery right there.
Yes, we are. I mean, if you look back at our projections that we had before we opened, the first year projection we had, I think we hit in like a month and a half. Like it just grew very, very quickly. And about 9 months into opening the bakery, we did our first expansion. And then this past October 2021, we opened the sandwich shop, Doc's Sandwich Shop next door, and everything is made on fresh baked bread from next door at Lowder's. And just seeing that growth has been just a really cool thing, and there's a lot more to come. So we have some big ambitions that we're working towards.
Good. But that whole building right there, that whole storefront has really grown.
Yes.
We were talking, and nobody wanted a storage unit down there.
What a transformation.
Nobody's worried about the
Yes.
storage unit now. They're all going, is there room in the parking lot
Yep.
for
If
me?
you think about when like we were kids, and El Chico's right there, Madison Square Garden, that was like the place. Like
Yes.
Sunday after church, like you'd see everybody you knew.
Go get El Chico's.
And then it just went to nothing. And it's been so cool to watch Key Mexico and y'all and Maryland's place really make that massive destination
It's
again.
such a cool area, and there are so many wonderful small local businesses that have popped up around there, and we all are really close-knit. We all are very supportive of each other, and I love seeing that, and there really is a cool vibe over in that area.
It really is. I mean, the fact that you could go eat a bowl of gumbo, get your bread for the week, and
Yep.
get some flowers,
Walk
and then
over
go
to get a
home.
cookie,
Yeah,
it's
you
I
get
mean,
it
how
all
perfect.
right there. But you came into it with more than just the business.
We really did. Preston, my husband, and myself, we're both Shreveport natives. I think I'm third generation Shreveport. He's probably fourth or fifth generation Shreveport, and this is a really special place to us. We have 3 young kids. We want to see Shreveport thrive. That is one of our big goals. Whatever small part we can kind of put towards that, we really want to do. And so when we were thinking about, opening up the bakery, putting together our plan, we really wanted to do something that just didn't exist in our area kind of at the time, and wanted to bring something new to the area, but to really look at ways that we could also tie into the community, ways we could give back. We wanted to be a young couple who stayed in Shreveport, who is looking to, launch a business and grow it. And thankfully, it's been successful so far.
So me and Dave always go back and forth. I always talk about the culture of Shreveport and how we have to catch up the culture. But like, I'm just sitting here and I didn't even thought about it. But you're on the starting line of the Highland Parade.
Yeah.
Which is like,
Yep.
I love that as an image of culture of Shreveport because I think it's so unique. But so once y'all have gotten there and you've gotten established, I remember when I saw the first mention of the Ockley Bridge
Yes.
project.
Yes.
And I was blown away by it because what a cool, iconic kind of Shreveport thing that we all grew up knowing the Ockley Bridge. It's there. And so tell us about the process of deciding to like take that on and how that happened.
It was a pretty simple process. We live about 3 blocks away from the bakery. We live on Unadilla Street. Love our street. We truly are a part of the neighborhood. We can get to the bakery in 20 seconds car ride. But there, we go and walk around Bayou Pierre with our kids all the time, and it really stemmed from us crossing the Ockley Bridge and just seeing, this is such a cool bridge. It just doesn't seem like it is where it needs to be.
Right.
What would that take? So, paint was peeling. It just needed some freshening up. So our first step was we reached out to our local councilman, said, hey, what do we need to do to kind of get this rolling? Can we just show up with paintbrushes and paint? Like, what do we need to do? So they kind of pointed us in the direction of SPAR, Shreveport Parks and Recreation. We got in touch with Shelley Regal, who was phenomenal, and we came up with a plan of, what can we do to just make this bridge better? What can we do to make it prettier? And sat down with her, came up with a plan of, to be sustainable, we need to scrape the bridge first to make sure there's no rust coming up from under the paint.
So
it
like
was a
you
lot
closed the bakery for months to do
No,
this?
no, we were doing this on
like
our
it
day
cost
off.
you millions of dollars? Wait, like all the things all these Shreveport people tell me they can't be involved in their community?
No, it really, and it sounds crazy, it really was easy. Yes, it was a lot of hard work, but it really just took that initiative to just call and say, hey, we want to do something with this. We're willing to give our time. We're willing to buy the paint. But SPAR was, gave us the paint, gave us the paintbrushes. We told them kind of our rough timeline of what we wanted to do, and then we just launched off. And we announced it on our neighborhood page, I think the day before we started, just saying, hey, we're doing this community project. We're going to start cleaning up the bridge. Anybody who wants to come, here's a Sign Up Genius. And that Sign Up Genius filled up with so many neighbors of just excited about it. And we got the bridge scraped, we did a primer coat, a second primer coat, and then painted it. And then in the midst of that, Maryland's Place jumped in and said, hey, we'll donate power washing. So they had a team come out and power wash the bridge. That led to other neighbors getting really excited about it. Hey, let's decorate it for Christmas. And then now it's decorated for 4th of July, for Christmas. We decorate it for Mardi Gras. And it's become just a really great way to see, just something that wasn't quite where it needed to be, and now it's beautiful. And
you said something early on, and I don't want to lose this point, but you said you worked with the city, and the city just came right in there and helped you with every aspect of it.
They did.
We get a lot of feedback that most of the city organizations are not there to help. But you're sitting here telling us that is not the case.
We went in expecting a lot of red tape. We went in expecting it's going to be an uphill battle, but we came in with a plan. We came in with realistic goals, I think, and expectations, and they were thumbs up. Great. How can we help?
No, that's
And
impressive.
it was really
that is what we want to get out as part of On The Cusp, right? Because it's very easy for a lot of us in Shreveport to sit back and say, oh, you can't get this done, you can't get this done. But then we go to you, and all of a sudden, okay, you just went in there with a executable plan.
And
you need the leader. Shreveport is full. I work with community renewal a lot, and what they always say is most people in our community do care.
Oh,
but they don't
absolutely.
know how to do, and they don't have leadership. And I'll call it out. Me and you, we're all business owners here. The business community has a responsibility to be those leaders in a lot of ways. We
I
have
agree.
a hook into our customer base. They look up to you whether you want them to or not. And it shows that people will, when you show them how to care and give back, they want to.
Absolutely. I mean, we have had so many customers come to us to say, you know, I'm kicking myself because I've driven over that bridge for 5 years thinking the same thing, and I always wanted to do something, but, you know, we're so excited y'all kind of jumped out there and took the first step, and it really, people got so excited about it. And it was just something so easy as painting a bridge.
Reed Martin with the Martin Cares deal, what they did at the
Yes,
duck
that
pond,
was
same deal.
amazing.
We just have to have more leaders like you go out and help do these things. I'm blown away by the Likely Bridge thing. I think it represents so much more than a bridge.
Yeah.
And I think it's so cool. I hope
It's
people
building,
follow that.
It's building in your community, okay? That's what it is. It's doing something in your community that everybody can be proud of. And you know what? If you can operate a paintbrush, you can be part of it.
Exactly.
That's right.
And I think starting small, you know, identifying what, you know, if we were to look at the whole neighborhood and make a list of 50 things, it could get very overwhelming, but just identifying the bridge, starting with that, you know, we're hoping to do plenty more community activities coming up and different projects, and it's fun getting to see the end result of that too.
That's really
That's
awesome.
really big.
I mean, in a bakery, like a bakery is such a central point of every neighborhood and community.
Yes.
And you think of, like, even when you travel, like you go to New Orleans and you're like, oh, this bakery or whatever.
It really,
it's perfect fit.
If you look at, you know, different cultures around the world, there's always kind of a basis of they have their certain type breads, they have their certain type beers they drink. A bakery really represents, I think, a big part of the culture of an area. So we were really excited to be able to kind of fill a little
But
bit
it's
of that.
grown more than just bread.
Yes.
When we started, it was king cakes, it was bread, okay? And now today, look at where you're at, the sandwich
It's
shop.
wild.
and
Shreveport
everything.
always struggles with Shreveport's image. What Shreveport is. How do you sell Shreveport? We had Ryan on talking to him about selling Shreveport. You know, people always talk about slogans and whatnot. But to me, those parts of the city, I mean, if you had somebody and you took them to that part of the city and you came into your bakery and went and ate lunch at Key Mexico and walked over the bridge and saw First Baptist, that's a pretty fair representation of
Oh.
what Shreveport is to me.
I feel like Shreveport has so many jewels in it, and it really, you know, Shreveport, we have our own identity. We're not East Texas, we're not South Louisiana, we are Shreveport, we're Caddo, we're Bossier, and it really is great, you know, seeing all these wonderful places being highlighted. Norton Art Gallery, I mean, there's so many places just walking distance from our house that
Right.
are just beautiful and so
And we
unique
don't tell
to our
that
area.
story well
we,
enough.
We don't tell it enough. We don't talk about it enough.
Yes.
Even the food scene in Shreveport, for the size we are, the quality of restaurants that we have,
Absolutely.
the quality of, I mean, just everything, all these new restaurants opening up, it's amazing.
Is that growing?
Oh,
Is that momentum still
very
there?
much.
How many people
Absolutely.
come to you that have a food-based idea do you see?
All the time. All the time. We have really made a lot of great friends just in the food industry, especially as we've opened, you know, it's great seeing somebody's idea turn into reality and then to see it grow. So we always want to be a part of supporting, you know, our fellow business owners and restaurateurs, and I think that is something that is really growing in Shreveport Bossier.
Great.
As a good thing to say, I know I'm very proud to watch what our generation has done in the food scene of
Yes.
Shreveport. I remember like being in high school and being a kid and like my parents being so excited that Chili's was coming to Shreveport. And like that was the biggest deal. And I love that the things our generation are excited about are amazing local talent and local restaurants opening. And I think that's something
I think
we've brought.
that's really key,
Absolutely.
because it's not the 62-year-old Dave Smiths that are going to make this happen. Okay, it's Matt, it's Sarah. Okay, they got to be the ones that step up and really solve a lot of the perception about Shreveport.
I would argue, and I feel like it's a valid argument, that Shreveport's food scene has never been as well-rounded and together as it is today.
I completely agree, and I think it's continuing to grow. You know,
too.
Preston and I, we love to travel. We love to go visit places and get inspiration, and it's such an important part of what we want to continue to do. But we come back home and we're like, Zoozle, Fat Calf, Cypress coming open pretty soon. I mean, these are places that are top notch. I mean,
Yes.
on par, if not better than some of these huge
I heard
restaurants.
something the other day.
Southfield,
I heard
Yes.
stand up with
Rhino's
every
fantastic.
coffee shop I go to in Big City that you read about. You go in and I'm like, this is cool, but I'll go back to
Well,
Rhino.
and
You know?
Rhino too, like that's been such an important thing to us too, is to partner local, to, you know,
Yeah.
have all these wonderful partnerships. We've partnered with Rhino. We have our Lowder espresso blend through them. So
Oh,
we have
awesome.
our very own espresso, but we're still able to, you know, pull in local things. We have Mahaffey Farms meats that we use. We have, you know, different Morel Dairy Farm milks that we use. And I think, you know,
Have to
being
buy
able
the
to
butter there to take it
oh,
to my
it's
wife.
so good. But
Well-
just being able to support each other, you know, all ships
Yeah.
rise on a
Absolutely.
rising tide, or whatever the saying
Definitely,
is.
I think that is true. Well, hey, we're almost out of time. Sarah, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming and being part of this. It's a great positive story that we want people in Shreveport to hear. If anybody's got anything and they want us to send it to Sarah, or you know something you hear on the podcast, contact us at info@eapla.com. And our podcast, the video version, will be on YouTube, and then the podcast will be on all of the podcast channels for everybody. But thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,